there was an old man and a young man, and there was a tree chopping competition. And so the old man was frail and bent over, and there's this big crowd looking at this guy, and like, man, he's only about 5'4". He's a scrawny little man at this point. He's probably about 80 years old. Then there was this young guy, and the young guy was just beefy, brawny, strong man, right? And the young guy and the old guy were going head to head in this competition to see who could cut the most trees. Well, everyone was hedging their bets on the young man because he was fit. He was 6'2", strong back. I mean, dude just looked jacked. The old man, again, fragile. Coach gave the rules. They had a starting line, and it was just going to go straight down the line. Boom, they hit the trigger. Everyone starts. Guys start chopping trees. The old guy's moving at a much slower pace than the young guy, and the young guy's just ripping it through. And they're stacking trees. And eventually you stopped seeing the people because they're moving through the woods. You can't see them anymore. But the old guy, something really strange was happening on his side of the forest. Every single time he would start chopping the trees, every once in a while he'd stop. He'd stop making noise. It would get real quiet on his side. And so the audience would wonder, like, what's going on over there? The young guy's side was just noise. Boom, bing, boom, boom, nonstop. So like this young guy was just ripping through these trees. The old guy would chop for an hour and he'd stop for 20 minutes. He'd chop for an hour and he'd stop for 20 minutes. So it was just this constant battle. After 12 hours, the judges had to then make a determination as to who cut the most wood. Well, they count up all the trees that the young guy counted, and they were like, man, that's a lot of trees. There's no way the old guy beat him. But now when you look at the old guy's pile, you realize it was significantly higher than the other pile. They counted it up, and sure as you wouldn't believe it, he had significantly more trees. Well, the question is, how could this old guy have more trees when he kept stopping? He was moving slower. Well, the answer is simple. The one thing that the older gentleman was doing that the younger guy didn't do was use his wisdom to know that he had to sharpen his axe. The old guy would stop every hour, and for 20 minutes he would sharpen his axe. And so every time the old guy struck a tree, he struck the tree with such force and precision that it only took 2 or 3 chops to chop down a whole tree. Whereas the younger guy, when he first started, the axe was sharp, but by the time he got, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into it, it started to get dull. And he never took the time to sharpen the axe. So it would take him 30 or 40 or 50 strikes on the same tree eventually to chop it down, where the old man would only need to take 3 to 5 swings. And so when you guys come to these things and you work with me, it's like you sharpening your axe. It's you taking the time to bend the knee to sharpen your axe. The problem is, there's not enough men doing that. There's not enough men taking the time to sharpen their axe, and then they're moving through life, and they're wondering why things aren't working out. They're moving through life, and they're wondering why they're not stacking trees. They're moving through life, and they're wondering why their relationships falling apart. They're moving through life, and they're wondering why they're not fulfilled at work. They're moving through life, and they're wondering why they're not as physically fit as they were. They started off strong, and everything was good in the beginning, but then they stopped chopping trees. Right? And so this is a common issue. And that's what this program is designed to do for you today. And so what we're going to talk about, what we're going to cover, is understanding the man in the mirror. Is understanding you, the man in the mirror. Today is the day that excuses die. The reason why I'm going to be teaching you this is because of all the people that I work with, the men that I work with. Some of you guys are in the Black Card Elite program. Some of you guys get direct one-on-one coaching with me. And what I find in those one-on-one sessions is that there's a lot of finger pointing. I find that we don't realize that we are our greatest enemy. I find that we don't realize just how critical it is for us as men to recognize that It's our responsibility to fix our life. It's our responsibility to do these things. It is our biblical responsibility to be the leader of our house, to be a provider, to do these. We cannot sit here in our life and feel sorry for ourselves, or to have depression, or all these other things, these feminine emotional things that we bring upon ourselves, that we make excuses in our life as to why things aren't working. And the second that we stop doing that is the second that we start to win for real. Now, there are two versions of you. There's one version of you that you show the world. There's one version of you that you show the world, and there's one version of you that you meet when you're alone. And the problem is, the man that you meet when you're alone is actually the one that's running your life. That's the one who's in charge of your existence. That's the one who's in charge. So tonight we're going to kill that version of you that is running your life, that weaker version that's by yourself. Like, you guys put on a certain face for your wife. You put on a certain face at work. Some of you guys here, you're firefighters and police officers, military guys, professionals, entrepreneurs, whatever, professional in some trade. You have a certain persona, but you know who you really are. And tonight we're going to kill that weaker version. Because the second that you start to own yourself the right way is the second that you start to win. The book of Galatians chapter 6 verse 5 says, "For each one should carry their own load." That means your discipline is your responsibility. That means your discipline is your responsibility. Your leadership is your responsibility. Your failures are your responsibility. God did not assign your life to your wife or to your kids or to your boss. He assigned it to you. And so you got to start owning that. So I want to first dive into the man that you have become. If you're taking notes, now is the perfect time to start. Now is the perfect time to start writing these things down. Okay? I'm going to tell you a story. There was a man, and he wasn't a bad man. He was like many of you. He was an average Joe, the average man in his space. And he woke up tired most days, okay? Not because he didn't sleep, but because his life had no fire left in it. He used to have goals, like many of you. He used to have an edge, like many of you. He used to believe that he was going somewhere. But over time, life softened him. He got comfortable blaming small things. Life softened him. He started to get accustomed to what his life was actually becoming. Started blaming things for his lack of success, blaming the traffic, blaming work, blaming stress, his wife's attitude, his lack of time. Not big things, guys. Just enough excuses to slowly remove responsibility from his own shoulders. And what scared him the most is that no one was calling him out. Not like I'm doing tonight. Because from the outside, like many of you, he looked fine. Right? And so it's important to recognize one key problem here, one key element, one factor. You are the problem. That man from the story is most men. You are the problem, not your wife, not your kids, not anything, not the government, not the Jews, nothing. It's you. It's not Islam. It's not the governor. Okay, it's you. Like, we live in a world where we love blaming everything and everybody for whatever we can. But in the grand scheme of it, it's you. We don't destroy our lives overnight. We destroy them slowly by lowering the standard that we've set for ourselves. You guys came into this program with a standard that you set for yourself. And you know what? I don't need you to tell me in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and just tell you that many of you have lowered your standards since that day. That you made yourself a promise and you've lowered your standards since that day. You've made excuses as to why you can't do certain things. You've accepted certain things. You were getting better, and then now you have taken a break. And Scripture talks about this. This is called a lack of control. Scripture makes it really, really, really clear. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. A city whose walls are broken through. Proverbs 25:28. A city with no walls is not a city. A man without discipline is wide open to whatever temptation walks in. I already know that temptation is walking into your life. Laziness walks in. I already know laziness is walking into your life. Weakness walks in. I already know weakness has been walking into your life. You think you're struggling. But the truth is, you are just guarded. And you're not accepting the reality of this. See, you don't need a motivational talk from me. You don't need structure. You don't need any of this stuff. All you need is just to be obedient. You need to be obedient to yourself, obedient to the goals that you've promised yourself, but you need to be obedient to God. God has a standard for you. God has a standard for you. And the funny thing is, you already know what to do. You already know what to do. So write this down, okay? Where I am weak and where you're lying to yourself. Where are you weak and where are you lying to yourself? 3 categories: body, mind, and leadership. Where are you weak in your body? Where are you weak in your body? In the way that you are working out, your discipline, your diet, the regimen, the warrior protocol that I provide you is, if you follow that, I mean, some of our students, these guys are losing 30, 40 pounds on this thing, man. They're getting shredded. It's changing the way that they look. And I don't know about you, but it's important to be good looking for your wife. A lot of us want to sit here and pretend like, oh, my wife is not attracted to me anymore. Yeah, dude, you gained 42 pounds. Your belly's hanging over your belt. You're not quite the same dude you were when you first met her, right? It might be time to take some responsibility and tighten up, right? If you're a guy who likes a woman who's thin and that's how you met your wife and you wanted her to be this thin little thing and now she's gained a bunch of weight, well, you might feel some kind of way about that. You'd want her to take care of herself for you. Well, why do you think the rules don't apply to you, right? So where are you weak in your body? Where are you weak in your body could also be your flesh. It could also be your lust. It could also be that habit that you still can't figure out. Even though I'm providing you resources, you've stopped and now you start again, right? Where are you weak in your mind? This includes things like your communication skills, your anger. Or where are you weak in your leadership? If you got kids running around doing whatever they want. I had somebody hit me up on Instagram. Not one of my students. I try to give advice when I can. And he says, hey, man, I want to run this situation by you. So what's up? Says, me and my wife went out for her birthday. We both drank. She did drugs. We hung out. We had a good time. It was time to go home. We took a limo, got to the house. She went to invite friends over. I don't want to invite friends over. We have an 8-month-old baby. We never usually have time to ourselves. I wanted us to be able to have time to ourselves. She invites all these people over to the house. I didn't want to have the people there. We get into a fight. I smack her. She hits me in the head with a bottle. I feel really bad about everything. Where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? Right? Leadership. And what I said to him is essentially that, give or take. And I explained to him that he has no control over his wife. He's got no control over his house. Take control. Lead. You let your wife do drugs? How dare you, bro? What kind of leader are you? She doesn't respect you at all. You told her you don't know anybody else in the house. And she brings people in the house. She don't know. She's not looking at you as a leader at all. right? So maybe your leadership is lacking. You got kids, 15-year-old kids, you tell your kids not to do something, and they do it anyway. They don't look at you as a leader. Now, if your kid's 5 years old, it's a little bit different, right? These are just kids. They do dumb things. But as your kids grow older, they don't respect you. Well, why not? These are things that we cannot blame them. We can't be like, well, they just don't do it. No, hold on, man. Hold on. A real leader will get his dog to follow him. You guys understand that? A real leader will get the dog to respond. So you got to understand this stuff here, guys. Leadership. So maybe it's that, right? So write that stuff down. Where are you weak and where are you lying to yourself? Those 3 categories. Now let's get back to our story, okay? So that same man that we were talking about, one night that man came home late. And he walked through the door, same routine, right? You guys probably relate to this guy. He walked through the door, same routine, same tired energy, same distracted presence. His wife was in the kitchen. She wasn't angry, just quiet. Drop a 1 in the chat if you ever walked into the house and your wife was there and she wasn't angry, she was just quiet. You didn't know what was going on, right? That kind of quiet that doesn't fight anymore, right? Like that's where she was at. She's not here to fight anymore. She's given up on that. She just accepts, right? His son, a young boy, ran up on him, full of energy, full of life, full of belief. And he says, Dad, look what I did today. And the man barely looked. He barely even paid attention to this kid. Because his mind was somewhere else. Stress, work, distracted, right? Himself. And the boy, the 5-year-old little kid, stood there waiting. And then he asked something simple, something small. He said, Dad, are you strong? And for the first time in a long time, the man felt exposed. See, strength. What is a warrior? Because I always talk about this, right? Being a warrior of Christ, being a warrior. What is a warrior? What does this mean? See, a warrior is not loud. A warrior is not emotional. A warrior is consistent. A warrior in 2026, okay? A warrior in 2026 is different than what it was to be a warrior in the 11th century. But the concept remains the same. See, a warrior does not choose to be a warrior. A warrior just is. It's about survival. And one of the things that we are not in this day and age is consistent. And if you guys are going to be in this program working with me, then consistency is the key. If you're not willing to be consistent, then what are you doing here? What are you doing with your life? If you're not willing to be consistent, what is the goal for you? What's the point? Scripture tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13, is one of my favorite verses. It says to be on your guard, to stand firm in the faith, to be courageous, to be strong. Some translations will even go as far as to say to act like men. So be on your guard means stop being passive, gentlemen. Many of you are passive. Stand firm means stop folding under pressure. When you make a decision, stand on that decision, right? Be courageous means do what's uncomfortable. How many times have we made comfort-based decisions? You guys, some of you have been trying to build your personal dream in business for so long, and you never did it because you are not courageous. Some of you should have stepped up in a situation. I guarantee you could think about a thing that you were supposed, like there's something that happened. A guy said something to your wife. something happens with your daughter, like there was something that could have happened. You lacked the courage to step up and say something, and it haunts you now. You think about it. It could have been when you were 18 years old, right? Courageous is doing what's uncomfortable, being strong physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the Bible is commanding us to be strong. This is not optional, it's the expectation, right? So there's a warrior framework. It's about having discipline before emotion. You guys have to learn to act regardless of how you feel. That your feelings follow action. For example, if you are a married man, like no matter how you feel about your wife, your responsibility is to be a provider and a protector, period. It's not to get emotional, start taking things away from them and saying, well, you know what, like, I'm not going to pay the bills here, or I'm leaving, or I'm going to start dating other women. I'm going to download Tinder because I'm done with this relationship. That's not how that works, dude. Like, your discipline of being a husband is what it is. Being a father is what it is. Being a protector and provider is what it is. Like, that's the truth. Ownership, right? That's another framework for being a warrior. Is not blaming people, ever. Even if it's not your fault, it's your responsibility. Because you're attached to it. If I came up to you right now and I destroyed your car, just smashed your car with a baseball bat, it's not your fault that the car is destroyed. I did that. But whose car is it? It's yours. So it's your responsibility to fix it. It's not your fault that your wife has this annoying friend that keeps putting stupid things in her ear, making her think that you're a bad dude. And so now every time you talk to your wife, she's giving you a hard time about something that you don't even make no sense to you. It's not your fault that that friend is doing that, but it's your responsibility to do something about this. Right? Ownership is key. You need to take action before comfort. That's the third, right? Action before comfort. Do the hard things first. Always. Always do the hard things first. And you have to train discomfort daily. So like my point here is, if you're not uncomfortable every single day, you're not doing this program right. If you're not uncomfortable every single day, if you're not putting your body under tension every single day, if you're not reading a biblical passage before you start your day every day, if you're not challenging yourself to be a better man every day, then you're not doing this right. And then you need to have leadership before validation. Like, everyone wants to be praised and recognized for what they do, but lead your family. Lead even when no one's noticing. Lead even when it's not appreciated. Because guess what? You're not always going to be appreciated, dude. Your job is not to be appreciated, unfortunately. Women and dogs get appreciation, and children. Us men, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. And if we do, if we don't, we got to be consistent. The book of Romans chapter 5 verses 3 says, suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. So suffering produces hope. The pain you avoid is the man you'll never become. Right? So let's get back to our story. That night when his son asked him, are you strong? After everyone went to sleep, the man, he sat alone at his dining room table. You guys know that sit that you do at the dining room table when no one's around and you're just thinking about your life and you're just like, man, like, no distractions, no noise, no music playing, no excuses. It's just him and the truth. And he thought about that question. Dad, are you strong? And for the first time in his life, he did something very, very interesting. He did not defend himself. He did not defend himself. He did not justify. He didn't blame. He didn't explain it. He just sat there and he realized something. That he was not the man that he thought that he was. He just wasn't that guy, man. And one day his son was going to wake up and realize that. His son was going to grow up and see that. Like, he was not that man. Not physically, not mentally, not as a leader. And the worst part is, his son was beginning to see it. See, this is one of the driving factors for me in my life, has always been how my son sees me. How are your children seeing you? How are your wives seeing you? See, this is where most men, they quit here, okay? Because it's easier to ignore truth than it is to rebuild yourself. It's easier to just ignore it all. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8 says, anyone who does not provide has denied the faith and is worse than a non-believer. You have to recognize something here. That God does not lower the standard for you. The standards are high. The standards are very, 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 very high for you. And you got to know that. You can't come here and expect to have amazing results in your life if you're only putting in half-assed work. Whether it's in this group, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your fitness, whether it's in your whatever. Like, you have a chance right now to start anew. In this exact moment, to say, you know what? I'm done being a loser. I'm going to win, bro. I'm going to do it for my family, and I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm going to do it for God, because he's got a great plan for me. Right? So, like, I'm challenging you guys to just do a 7-day reset. Challenge yourself here, okay? There's going to be a homework assignment this week. Do it, right? A 7-day reset. Wake up early. No snooze, right? That means go to bed early. Train hard every single day. 7 days a week, train. Walk, sweat, run, whatever. Read scripture every day. Minimum 10 minutes. 2-3 chapters, man. 2 to 3 chapters per day. Me and my bride we were reading the book of Ecclesiastes today. First 3 chapters of Ecclesiastes, and it just humbles you, makes you realize, hey man, like, you know what? Everything that you're shooting for sometimes, the fame and the money and the this and the that and the business and is meaningless. What's more important is the journey. What's more important is the food that you eat at that exact moment. That's more important than all these other things. The journey that you're on, the thing in front of you that God has given you, is more important than all these other things you want to achieve. Right? But 10 minutes a day. I want you to fix one problem that you've been avoiding. What is the thing? I want you to lead the conversations in your home. I don't want you to complain all week. No complaining. And every night, you need to journal this thing. You need to write it out. You need to write out the plan. What has it looked like? What's going on? Write it out. Some of you haven't written to yourself. Some of you guys are not, you're not taking your growth seriously. If you're not writing to yourself in a book, putting it on paper, building that plan for your goals, your business, your fitness, your dreams, your map. If you're not doing that, you're not taking it seriously enough, right? And so this stuff is not optional. This is just the starting line here, okay? Let's get back to the story here. The next morning, after the man sat there thinking about his life, no excuses, recognizing his son, seeing him for what he really is, that man, he woke up early. He was not motivated, but he was decided. And that's what I want for you guys, is to not have motivation, but instead be decided. Be a decided man, a man that has made a decision. And everyone here is going on a different goal. You got different plans, different things, right? But every man is decided. He trained. He prayed. He moved with a purpose in his life, this father. He's not perfect, but he moved differently. And days went by, and slowly things started to change in his world. Things from his posture, his tone, his presence, and how he approached the world. And guess who noticed? His son. And a week later, the same boy looked at him again. And he asked him, Dad, are you strong? And this time, the man didn't have to answer with words. He picked up his son, he held him tight. And for the first time in a long time in his life, that dad did not feel like he was pretending. Some of us were pretending to be whatever it is that the world needs us to be. We're pretending to be strong. We're pretending to be that father. We're pretending to be that guy. We're pretending. We're pretending to be invested. We're pretending to be committed. We're pretending to be, we're just pretending. Let's get to a point where we don't have to pretend. Let's get to a point where we don't pretend. See, Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 says to be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. What I ask of you all is to understand that when you do things, you do it because you know that God is with you. You know that the Lord is with you. You know that he is with you, walking with you. You have strength that no other man has. I used to walk in my life on my own strength, like many of you, before I found God, thinking that I had it all figured out. And it wasn't until I really found Jesus and I understood the power that he had in my life where now all of a sudden I'm moving at a whole different tempo. I'm moving at his strength, at his speed, not mine. And it's significantly more powerful because he's with me and he's with you. So you got to know that. So I want you to know that this life you have, it's not your wife's fault and it's not your past. It's like, I don't care where you came from. Your situation doesn't matter, dude. See, a lot of people look at my life now. I'll post something online and they'll be like, oh, this guy, he doesn't know what it's like to be poor. So that's why he says that. Or this guy, he doesn't know what it's like to grow up in the hood. Or this guy, he doesn't know what it's like. They don't know me, dude. I grew up poorer than all of them. They don't know what it's like to clean shit out of a 5-gallon paint bucket because you don't have a toilet. I know what that's like. That is my toilet. Growing up in Philadelphia, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to every spoon that you use to feed yourself has burnt marks on the bottom of it. Your lips get black from the soot of the spoon because your parents use it to cook heroin or crack or whatever else. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to open up the refrigerator and have no food in there. To have to shake cockroaches out of your cereal box and then use dehydrated milk. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to walk 2 miles to the food bank at the church to fill up one of those old school square shopping carts with whatever they had and walk 2 miles back so we could eat because your mom had you standing outside of the grocery store selling food stamps. They don't know what that's like. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to have her get arrested for stuffing her pants with meat and vegetables and all types of other stuff at the grocery store because when she wasn't all cracked out, now she was hungry, but we didn't have any money. So we would go steal the food from the grocery store to stand in front of the camera, stand right there. I know what that's like. So people, they don't know my story. And that's just the beginning of my story. Right? I know what it's like. So your past is irrelevant. That drug problem you had, I've been there, dude. That divorce you're going through, I've been there, dude. That poverty you're trying to overcome, I've been there, dude. Your environment is irrelevant. If anything, the worse it was, the stronger it makes you. I've been put into a mindset where there's nothing I cannot achieve because I've already done the hardest things ever. I've already broken addictions. I've already rebuilt myself multiple times. I've already overcome these things. So I'm telling you, your environment, your past, your situation, that's not the problem. It's not that. It's you, guys. You're in control. And here's the cool thing. That's the best news that you'll ever hear. Because if it wasn't in your control, you will never be able to change. But because it is in your control, you can change it just like that by making a decision.